That's what it's giving. I'm so serious.
The second couple that I wanted to talk about is Tim and Alex. This scene has been going infamous on the internet. And there's nothing... Let me back up. They also were a very strong couple in the pods. He's also was very emotional about how connected to her, how much he loved her. 2 days before this, he read a message to her dad in person that was so heartfelt, so sweet. I literally had chills listening to it. It sounded so authentic. Her old black daddy cried. He was like, I'm going to treat your daughter as if she were part of my fam, like as she were like one of my kids' own or my parents' own children or whatever. Just saying all these things basically about how much he's going to love, cherish, and respect her. And all of these very traditional things that aren't even quite how like I want to do life. But I know that's what she wants.
They
and,
were
like,
all eating it up.
They all want that. And it seems like he wants that. So then 2 days later, he had some things he was irritated about. Valid. Not even saying that the things he was annoyed about were crazy. But they were just irritations. Mm-hmm. And he literally breaks up with her and is so mean to her.
Yeah, he was like cruel.
He was cruel. He literally ended the conversation by being with, well, I'm glad we can agree on one thing, which is that we never want to see each other again, and got up and walked out. And she wasn't saying that at all. She was shocked he was ending the marriage.
Over a little bit of, literally all it was a little bit of like communication.
No, it was that she wasn't responding quick enough one day when they weren't together. And then when his parents came over to meet her, they hung out for 4 hours. And after the 4th hour, she went and took a nap. And he was like, you don't respect my family. You don't respect my life. And the only feedback she was giving him while he was going in on her about all these things and being very kind of demeaning in how he was saying it. All her feedback is like, basically, why are you giving me this energy? All you have to do is like, tell me what you want. Like, this is a learning curve. Like, I'm trying to learn. Let me learn. Like, I wish you would have came in the room and said like, yo, don't take a nap. Like, this is really important to me. Come out. Or you would have told me afterwards how you were feeling.
Clearly she don't want to be in that family anyway, if that's how the son is.
But I just couldn't. I was blown away. And when somebody who is all in and then something minor happens and they change their mind, were they ever all in?
No.
That was just performative, right?
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Or can someone be that punitive and mean that he was all in because he thought she was perfect, and the second he realized she was imperfect and human, he pulled out?
Yes, that. I think, yeah, I think just it was like whiplash.
Yes.
That was one of those things where I was like, no, this is how this man really deals with conflict in real life. It doesn't matter that he's in front of the cameras or not. Like, this is how he really was. And I was like, he just got up and walked out. Just left.
Yeah, like feels like a personality disorder or bipolarism or something like that. That's crazy to me.
It was like, I was watching this and was like,
he switched.
He would have been abusive if you guys stayed together. Like,
yes.
This is punishing, cruel behavior.
Yes.
He literally was like, I shouldn't have to tell my wife how to do basic things.
I was like seeing down the tunnel for her. I was like, I'm sad that she has to experience this, but I'm glad that he's doing it now.
Absolutely. And she was like, you literally just cried to my dad about how much you loved me 2 days ago. Why would you do this? Why would you do this? And then not even try
to
fix the relationship. And he was like, well, why would I lie to myself, basically, and pretend like I would ever go to the altar with you? I would never.
Oh, my gosh.
Like,
people who have those extreme boundaries, you know, like that. I just can't relate to people like that. It's such a hard, you know, and I wish I had more of it, but it's crazy to me, some people, how severe they are with those things.
It feels like it comes from a place of fear.
Yes.
Like if I let up a little bit, I'm going to be hurt, or like I'm going to be less of a man, or whatever his thing is. Like feels like it comes from a place of fear. Like there's something very vulnerable about being open to whatever outcome happens. Going into a conversation and knowing the outcome ahead of time is not vulnerable at all. Going in and being like, no matter what they say, I'm going to break them down and tell them, fuck you, fuck no. That's not vulnerable. Coming here with an open mind and being like a little hopeful and okay to the fact that she might disappoint you and you guys might still get divorced, but you're going to try. That's way better. Way better. And that's kind of what she was saying is like, we still have weeks until the wedding. Like why, or 10 days or something. Like, why wouldn't we at least try to the end was the energy. And he was kind of like, why? Like she wasn't worth 10 days.
Even like, look at his stance. It's such like a dismissive, like.
It's giving
like,
dad.
It is. It is.
In a bad way.
Dad.
Yeah, she's beneath him for sure.
He was trying to like discipline her.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was the disciplinarian in their relationship.
Icky. I don't like that.
It was disgusting.
I pocket that.
Do you think he wanted her to chase him?
No.
Or like, do you think he was legitimately done?
No, I think he was serious.
I think he was legitimate dumb because she said to him, she goes,
wait.
If there's any, she goes, I actually want to explain myself and talk about it, but only if there's any chance that like you're open to just hearing this. And he was like, I'm open to listening. And she's like, right, but like, are you open to the fact that like we could continue forward? Mm-hmm. And he was like, I said I wasn't.
Wow.
Switch.
So he was mean to her, and she even still ate shit a little bit and was like, but like, I mean, I'll grovel if you're open. And he was like, no. And then he screenshotted people's responses to what he was saying and responded to the responses and was basically like, what's wrong with being direct and honest?
You're being cruel and mean, and that's different than direct and honest.
Cruel and mean. And how can you not acknowledge the switch?
You literally just walked out after like integrating your families and doing this big thing. Like,
it's like your dog barking at night or something and just went, well, I got to go out and fucking kill it now.
Right.
You know what I mean? I choked him to death in the front lawn. I just
had
to.
I got to give it back.
I had to. I mean, that's my boundary. Like, you can't do that. I can't live that way.
Dogs cannot do that. I can't have a dog who does that. Like, what?
Am I a fucking weirdo that I, though, do slightly agree with him that her taking a nap on the first day meeting his parents is fucking...
I actually disagree.
Really?
I
4 hours straight hanging out, G, and you can't, like, they don't want to rest?
No, I think what you do is, like, she probably did it in poor taste. Like, I feel like what you do is, like, you say something like, I'm just really exhausted. The camera's just left. Like, do you guys mind if I just go get, like, 45 minutes to myself? I just need to recoup. She probably, like, disappeared.
Probably.
And that probably looks really bad. Probably. I don't even think having an issue is wrong with it. And that's what she said. She was like, no excuses. Like, if you feel like that's disrespectful, like, I hear you. Like, I won't do it again. Like, she didn't even argue. She was like, I shouldn't have given in to just like being stressed out.
He also just like malfunctioned. It was like he had never had this type of conversation before. He had no skills as to what to do next, it seemed like. Mm-hmm. Like he was being cruel and mean, and also it seemed like he was inept at knowing what to do. You know
when like a parent or a boss or an authority figure like talks in a really like slow, stern, monotone way, and like, then
they're dumb.
Because the way they're talking like that, there's gaps in their speech, so you think they're done talking. Mm-hmm. That was happening, and then every time he'd be like, "Are you gonna let me finish?"
Oh, I hate that shit.
Holy shit!
And I was like, "This is an adult child and an asshole dad and a teenage daughter." Right. It was also crazy because she had clearly just gotten home from work, had picked up food. Like it was very clear they weren't eating together.
He was like waiting for her.
He was waiting for her on the couch. She has sat down to have her plate, and he was like, "Are we gonna talk or?" And she was like, can I eat my food? And he was like, so you don't want to talk?
Oh, my God. I hate this dude.
And she was like, okay, I'll bring the plate over. Like, it was a statement to, it was like, you're telling me I'm unimportant and you're disrespecting my manhood if you don't come over here immediately. Like, he keeps score. Like, he's that guy. He's, like, tallying up everything. And when he said, he was like, I took meeting your parents so seriously. And then started listing off every single thing that he did for her parents to the point that I was like, oh, you, like, are holding on to this in your heart. Like, he was like, I got up at 8 a.m. and I went to the store. And then when I came home from the store, I did the dishes. And after I did the dishes, I grilled food. And then your dad came over and I made conversation.
Which is funny because he was worried about her being the performative one when he sounds like he was really being the performative one.
I also just feel like that was a very kind thing for you to do. It wasn't a big enough thing for you to lord over my head. Like, this is wild.
It was kind until you said that it wasn't really kind. You were just doing it.
It's also what you do when you're meeting your significant other's parents.
Yes, yes.
It's literally what you do.
Yeah, and I'm also like, so you only grilled, so I'm guessing she cooked? Like, I'm like, I said, like, nothing about this feels like she did nothing.
Right.
And then he posted screenshots of their texts, and he was like, does this look like a woman who wanted to get married? And it was her giving, like, one-word answer. It's like being like, yeah, I'm home, safe, it's fine. He was like, does this look like a woman who's ready for marriage?
Ew.
Holy shit.
And it was really weird because his parents were really measured and appeared very normal. Like, he was having a conversation with them earlier when they had met her, and he was complaining slightly about, like, we have differences in communication. And the mom was like, she must know her son, because she was like, she was like, Tim, you're not going to find anybody perfect. Like, you got to find somebody who you're willing to like work through those things. Like, it's really hard to go from two separate people to messing a life to one. Like, there's a learning curve. Like, you guys are going to be okay. And he was just like, I could tell he was like,
in one ear and out the other one.
You
He was
didn't feel
irritated.
like you didn't feel judgmental parents or whatever, like, you know, where he was deeply offended or you know, like of what happened because of how it looked.
Maybe.
Because that's like, you know, in my marriage, my first one, I would have been that way maybe the very first time. Like if she went and took a nap the very first time, I'd be like, oh God, that makes me look bad. Like now I wouldn't give a fuck at all.
I think she was wrong. Like, it's not even if she was wrong or not. I just think like
She could eat that.
the reaction was crazy.
Yeah.
And she ate it.
No doubt.
She
right.
literally ate it.
tried
And was
to
like,
save
okay,
it.
I was wrong. Like, she literally was like, okay.
Which is the start of
He was the type of guy, this is the kind of shit. It was clear that the day before, he was trying to argue with her. And she was like, I'll call you after work. And then she called him after work, or maybe when he got off of work. I'm not sure. And then he was like, oh, now you want to talk? I don't want to talk now. And he literally was saying to her, like, you think we have to do things on your time? I'm like, this is an adult man in his 30s?
Abusive dynamic for sure.
Deeply insecure.
Deeply insecure. You know what's interesting is he reminded me of somebody that I used to really have feelings for when I was really young. And I was like, this was toxic and I didn't see it.
This was toxic and I didn't see it.
Because they also, what they do is like, they're very intentional and very emotional and all of these things. And then the second you fuck up, they flip. I've been with someone like that. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy who presents a certain way to everybody else is being soft and loving with me. And then boom.
Switch. And then you're hooked in.
Does you know, I said it seemed like a personality disorder. Is there, I know you're not diagnosing here or whatever, I'm just saying, is it consistent with a specific one? You know, people who switch like that? Because I've also dated someone who did that.
No, it's not consistent with a specific personality disorder. I would say it's like a lack of empathy. And I think it's like there's an instability in it, but it's really hard because so like someone with a personality disorder would likely, like, let's say he had BPD. He would have likely really been all in 2 days before and then had a meltdown the next day. He wouldn't have been measured. Like it's the measured intentional part
like
that just
blown it
feels
up.
like punishment and manipulation. Like it doesn't even feel like mental illness. It feels like you don't see her as an equal and you want her to know it. And she probably never was.
I hate using the word narcissism here, but it's like, you know, does it feel like that at all to you? Just because she's beneath him and all of a sudden he offended her or she offended his sensibilities or whatever?
No, it actually doesn't feel like narcissism. Does it feel like it to you, Rachel?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. And I feel like that's the thing that people are like, oh, well, he's a narcissist or not. Like he might be, but he also could be just I don't get that at all.
It actually gives like you were performing and all of this is inauthentic and like you don't know who you are at all. And I think you hit it on the head with the deeply insecure.
Yeah.
I think it's just insecurity and like the way that he has fortified himself is to have these really strong quote boundaries, and I'm putting that in quotes because this is in boundaries.
Is it almost like an avoidant tactic?
Oh, it is avoidant.
In a sense.
It's very avoidant. It's like, oh, I saw an imperfection. I'm not putting myself in a position to be in a marriage that's imperfect. No.
And just not knowing how to be in a relationship.
Yeah. At all.
Like with
no
anybody.
skills.
Like no skills. Like that's not how you would deal in a friendship or anything, which is odd because this is weird because does it give like somewhere on the spectrum?
No, it gives Delulu.
That's what I thought. Okay.
It gives delusional. It gives like you don't have like thinking.
And not because of the cruelness.
What'd you say? Delulu?
Yeah, Delulu.
Because just because you're on the spectrum doesn't mean you're more mean. So not because of that stuff.
It doesn't give missing social cues. It gives the grass is greener. Like he's acting, I feel like a 24-year-old man who's mean and is like, I have all these women ahead of me, all this life ahead of me. Like I'm not settling for you, bitch. And it's the part of like you're in your 30s and you don't know that like having to deal with irritations and frustrations isn't like dating down or settling. Like that's the part.
Exactly.
That's the part. Like you think you're dating down or settling because you're dealing with like normal relationship conflict. And that's the part that's really immature and just meh.
And he'll come up against us in every relationship probably because that was like nothing.
Oh, this was nothing.
That was nothing.
And he acted like she spat in his face. That is absolutely. And he was fighting for power. You don't tell me what to do. You don't get to decide when you're going to respond to me. You don't get to decide what we're going to talk about or when we're going to talk about it. You don't get to eat dinner before I break up with you.
Ew.
Could you, now that you know that he was going to break it off with her, you couldn't wait 5 minutes to break it off with her?
It's like, well, it's
for her to eat her chicken?
It's so icky and controlling.
minutes. I've been wondering why